So I don't know if anybody is ready to kick off, has a question burning and waiting.
I'm happy to start, that's okay.
Yeah, perfect.
So we were very lucky to be shortlisted in the Tuition Business of the Year, the small Tuition Business of the Year last year, and we are looking to apply again this year. And we just wondered, are we able to nominate the same referees that we used, or some of the same referees that we used last year, or does it be completely different referees that we put you in contact with?
No, same from last year is totally fine. There wouldn't be, so we're not going to be using last year's application at all. So the only suggestion there would just be to ensure that whatever you are using is very complementary to the application and the category that you're applying for. And I think just on that, but like not to do with your question as such, but I just think that in general, if anybody is trying to apply for more than one category, just make sure that your applications are different basically and very relevant to the criteria of that category, and that you're not just copying and pasting, because it is really obvious when it's not related to the criteria. Does that help with the referees though?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
I'll just add to that, congratulations for being shortlisted in that category last year. It is by far away the most competitive category. Yeah. And every year without fail, I get several people who put very strong applications in with the tuition business to be under 1 million who complain to me saying, why was my amazing application not shortlisted? Because there were so many amazing applications in it last year. So that's a great achievement. But very much extraordinarily competitive. If you're going to go for that category, I always recommend going for at least one other category. No matter how good your application is, you have to get it first.
Perfect. Who would like to go next?
Hi both. I was just going to carry on from that references thing. It's exactly the same system, isn't it, as last year with regards to the references?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no. I think I read it thinking that the referees had to write loads more than last year, but my business partner was like, no, it's exactly the same. So I was just double checking.
You need between 2 and 4 references. I would pick people who are related to, or will say something that's more related to the category that you are applying to. So again, if you're applying for more than one category, maybe you don't use all of the same references because there might be something that's a bit more tailored to a different category that you're applying for. And then I have been a little bit more specific in the application form this year, because I think just when people were looking to apply last year, it didn't have the word count. So for the references, it is a 2,000 character limit for the references. And when we say, just because where we're doing all applications submitted through Google Forms, I wish we could just put a word count. Google Forms does not have a word count option. It only has characters, and that does include spaces and full stops and exclamation marks and every single character that you might want to put in. Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Who wants to go next? Claire?
Morning.
Morning.
A little bit concerned about whether I should be applying.
Okay.
We're a non-profit community interest company. Are we a business, a tuition business? Are we a tutoring provider? We are big, but we are not necessarily profitable business.
Absolutely fine. You're very welcome to apply for any of the tuition business categories. They're called tuition business categories simply because we're trying to find a word which can encapsulate all corporate or unincorporated organizational entities. But that bit of a mouthful is not going to go down well on when I send it off to the printers of the trophies, who are going to be like, what on earth do you want to put on this? So no, you're very, very welcome. If you're a community interest company, if you're a charity, if you're any kind of organization, an agency, a business, whatever you really call it, sort of partnership, then you're welcome to apply for the tuition business categories. There's no penalization against whether you make a profit, whether you don't make a profit, whether you make a loss, how big your loss is, or anything like that. None of that matters. I mean, obviously, if there's a revenue, like for the under and over £1 million, then obviously revenue, how much money you earn from tuition is going to be directly relevant to establishing which category you belong to for those. But for all of the others, it's how much money you earn and whether or not you make profit and how much profit you make is absolutely irrelevant. The criteria do not specify anything that's financial apart from the over and under 1 million revenue.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Would private tutoring provider, I'm not quite sure whether to go for that one rather than the tuition business.
You can go for both. Obviously, you have to do a bit of extra work to do applications for both, which I appreciate is the downside. But you can go for both. Private tutoring provider is for people providing tuition to families or students outside of the being funded by an institution like a school or a local authority.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, you're very welcome to go for that if that's what you're doing. And you can also go for private tutoring provider if you provide tuition for free. That's unlikely in most cases but they're still eligible. Yeah, so to answer your question.
We do charge, but we still could go for the private tutoring provider.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
as long as you're delivering, as long as you're delivering tuition to individual students outside of an institution, they're not receiving tuition because they're part of a school and you're being paid by the school.
Thank you. I understand. Thank you very much.
That's no problem.
Just to add on the end, so not directly related to your question, but just to carry on kind of like the differentiation between the categories. So if, for example, kind of like anybody watching this as well is a tutoring company, but whoever's leading that or a lead in the team is also a tutor, so they provide tuition personally. If that person wants to apply for one of the professional tutor categories, that's fine. The application, though, needs to be very much tailored towards you being a tutor rather than I am Sam of this very large company and we do great things as a company, because the tuition business categories are all there for a reason, so that the businesses can win, and we do want to see people who provide tuition win the professional tutor categories, but it very much needs to be an application that is just the person as a tutor, rather than kind of bringing the whole company along with it for the professional tutor categories. Perfect. David?
Oh, hi, thank you. I just wanted to ask the difference between, so if I were wanting to go for the primary tutor, but also the professional tutor, how to differentiate yourself? Is a professional tutor just somebody who does it as a full-time job? How do I differentiate between the two?
So
professional tutor and what, sorry?
The
primary tutor.
So I think the best way to look at it is like the of the year awards are kind of like the apex of all of the awards at the top. So if you're going to apply for professional tutor of the year, tuition business of the year, tuition partner of the year, I would really recommend applying for one of the other categories as well. So essentially what it is just that we're trying to kind of take an overview then of everybody and say, okay, so from the categories where people are also specializing, who then is going to be kind of like the overall winner of the year. But yeah.
Professional tutor of the year doesn't have it doesn't have particular requirements over and above. You must be paid for at least one of the tutorials you delivered in the last year. Doesn't matter if you were paid £1 or £1 million, you have to have been paid to deliver some of your tuition. I think most tutors are going to meet that criteria somewhere. I mean, not many tutors can afford to go volunteer for absolutely everything. That's the only hard and fast requirement for it. Obviously.
Yeah, it was just how to make the application different, because I'm predominantly a primary tutor, so that would be where my where I'm going to put my application in. But it was how to change that to fit. Yeah.
You'll find that you'll be able to, the criteria overlap substantially between primary tutor and professional tutor of the year and secondary tutor and professional tutor of the year.
Yeah.
Because it's deliberately intended that professional tutor of the year could be a tutor in any other category. who also is just exemplary and exemplifies the criteria that's stated. And the criteria are very, very similar to the criteria for primary tutor and secondary tutor of the year. And it is, as Sam said, a way to kind of differentiate between, okay, if these people won other categories, who wins overall when everyone is put on a level playing field and able to sort of to compete.
Lovely, thank you, really useful.
Dee, you had your hands up.
Hello, just struggling to unmute. Hi, hope you're well. Thank you so much for doing this as well, guys. It's really, really helpful. 2 questions. So one of the questions I've got is if I apply for a category, if I feel brave enough to do it. I mean, I've come on the call, so I'm, baby steps towards that way. If I do apply for the category and it kind of doesn't fit, do the judges kind of move it around so it fits into a category or not? Because I kind of fall in between some ambiguous areas, I guess.
No, we don't typically move it because otherwise, by the time that we're reviewing all of the applications, it's after the application window is closed.
Yeah.
And then I feel like it would just be a little bit of an unfair advantage if we're then kind of moving people and saying, oh, do you want to submit something else to kind of, and we do have, really tight timescales. So I would, I mean, I'm happy to catch up with you separately and just talk through what you were thinking anyway. But I think it's just, you just need to pick a category or pick a couple of categories. I mean, luckily, this is the first Q&A. So you've still got, what have we got, like 6.5 weeks to write and gather everything. So, I don't leave it until the very last.
No.
If we were to look at a graph of applications, everybody leaves it until the last few days.
Yeah, we see this worrying little rumble where a couple of people are organised and then massive spike in the last
like dissertation again.
Yeah, it is like that.
The other question I had was about the educational resources for tuition. Now, I, as you guys, Sam, I've published my first bilingual book, and I'm also working with a Gujarati school and providing resources for them. Now, that is in English and in Gujarati. Does that count? Does it not count?
Yeah. So if you create resources and they are used in a setting which is incredibly something that you want to showcase and shout about, basically, so you think it has real value in terms of bringing it to the awards, you don't have to be, for example, somebody who you might see typically exhibiting at the conference in order to apply for a tuition partner award. So if you do business coaching for tutors, for example, if you supply any service that helps support tutors and the students at the end of it above pure tuition, then hopefully there's a tuition partner category for you.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'll just clarify on that. For the tuition partner categories, revenue and scale is not one of the criteria. So you don't get automatic preference just because you sold £1 million worth of books and you're Hodder or something, I don't know, or massive technology company, right? Google doesn't get an automatic pass to win just because they entered and then whatever, right? It's the quality of the resources and the rigor. I mean, the criteria, you can read through the criteria. They don't talk about revenue or sales, or you don't have to have sold 1 million copies to be able to sort of get to qualify. Even if you only do a small amount of providing resources, but those resources are really, really good, then that would still get recognized and that still hit the criteria.
Super, thank you.
Perfect. Who would like to go next? Any more questions?
Can I go next?
Yes, hello.
Hi everyone. I am Shrishti. I'm calling from India. So I'm a part of Wise Tutor Management Software company. I've been in contact with Sam. If you remember, we've been in and on in the mail. So I just have a few questions, not just particularly about attending the award, but also a few things about sponsorship. This is our first time doing the conference event in general. So a little bit of idea would really help. So I just wanted to know what is the procedure of the sponsorship? Like we sponsor, we pay, deals done. How are we showcased in the award function exactly? I'd want to know how Wise would be, shown the sponsor in the function.
Okay, so to start with, I we have a highlight reel from last year, which is like a video which basically is kind of like almost like a run through of the evening. So I tried to make it so that almost from the minute that you stepped through the carpet through, so I can share that with you afterwards as well, just so you can visually see it.
Yeah.
But in terms of a sponsor, you will have your logo on the webpage for the awards beforehand. Your logo will go out in all of the emails at the bottom for anything to do with the National Tutoring Awards. You'll be featured on our social media posts as well. And then on top of that, in the actual application form, we have all of the logos at the beginning and the end. And then for your particular category, once somebody clicks through to apply on your category, it does at that point also say sponsored by whoever the company is. So that's the and then you get maybe a little bit more depending on what package you go for. So for example, Platinum and Gold get an email as well. At the awards, we have, depending on the package that you go for, so Platinum and Gold get their logo on the red carpet backdrop, which just as everybody walks in, and then you will have your we have a ceremony brochure for the evening, which everybody gets a copy of if they attend the awards, which again will have your logo in next to the category. When we announce your category during the ceremony, your logo will be on the screen as well. And then again, depending on how high up, for example, Pencil Spaces are our platinum sponsors, so they will have their logo on the main screen throughout the whole evening. And then afterwards, depending on which category, I think it's generally just Platinum and Gold that then get an email afterwards as well. But yeah, there's lots of exposure. And you also, depending on category, you get a complimentary ticket as well. Or more. Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really helpful. One more thing though. So we're applying for technology tuition category. So being a software or tutoring management software, is there any other category you think would be fit for us? Because right now, as we read through a description, technology tuition just fits perfectly for our thing. But is there any other that you would recommend or think would be fit for us?
So again, if you're going to apply for technology tools for tuition, I would also enter for tuition partner of the year as well. So it's kind of like the overall of all of the tuition partner categories as well. And then separately to that, just to kind of explain the next step. So if you are then shortlisted for any of the awards, you will be automatically entered into the People's Choice Award as well. So there are 3 People's Choice Awards, one for tuition, one for professional tutor, one for tuition business, and one for tuition partner. And basically, anybody who has been shortlisted for any of the awards within that category has the chance to go out to their networks and share that they've been shortlisted and basically ask for their network to vote for them in order for them to win the People's Choice Award, which will be announced in the evening.
Okay. Yeah, these were basically the questions I had. Thank you. Thank you so much. It was really helpful.
You're welcome. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? Well, that's nice and short if that's it. Perfect. Well, I'm glad because I spent so much time. I mean, obviously, if you've read the speaker handbook, you'll see that there are now 4 pages of FAQs. I spent so long trying to make sure I tried to answer as many questions as possible. So I'm really happy if I've kind of hit the majority of them this year to help a lot, more in terms of creating more resources. So thank you, everybody. I will be releasing the recording of this afterwards, just for anybody who couldn't attend. And then if anybody else does have any more questions, you can either email, or we have another Q&A session on, it's a Thursday at 1:30 in March. It is Thursday the 13th of March at 1:30. If you have any more questions, which is going to be about, what is that, 2 and a bit weeks before the applications are due in. Yeah, amazing. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
how do you say